Now, if you're looking for some top transfer recommendations, don't worry, I've got you covered for Game Week 2 as I've asked my FPL experts for their top picks. And in today's video, we're going to go through them and I'm going to give my seal of approval to the ones I like and, of course, my kind of disapproval, if you like, for the ones that I don't see fit for you to bring into your side for Game Week 2. Now, before we go and take a look at some players, I just want to say a massive thank you to you guys for helping my transfer targets video become the most popular video on the FPL Tom YouTube channel. So thank you very much. Obviously, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see today or throughout the course of this season, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as we are trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And it would be absolutely amazing if we could hit that milestone as well. Right, let's start off with defenders. Interesting though, 4.5 million defenders. Now the reason we're going to start off here is obviously some people, some idiots, went for Kwanzaa. Now he's obviously turned out to be a rotation risk. People warned us about it. Some of us decided not to listen. It's now become a reality. And I think he is going to see, you know, more benchings or potentially even some, you know, more early substitutions if his performances aren't up to standard as well. So we might be looking at some 4.5 million replacements. And these are the three that my FPL experts all kind of alluded to being potentially decent picks. Let's start off first with my favourite. It is going to be Anthony Robinson. I thought against Manchester United he put in a stoic performance. Before they conceded their goal, he was on for 2 bonus as well. Arguably, Fulham have some of the best fixtures as well coming up in the Premier League. As you can see on screen, Leicester, Ipswich and West Ham. 2 home fixtures within the next 3 and also 2 newly promoted sides as well. I think that's why he's kind of become a little bit of a gem and where people are looking for popular kind of 4.5 million defender picks. It is going to be him, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him probably rise to 4.6 by the deadline, maybe even 4.7 if obviously the propaganda we see from Twitter and content creators like myself does continue to push this guy. But there's very good reason we're pushing him. Good fixtures, looked great, and as you can see, his kind of expected goal involvement and stuff like that wasn't bad per 90. I have put these incorrectly. It is 0.17 and 0.10. Don't think he's like some magician getting 1 goal involvement per 90. I did forget to put the 0 point, but still pretty decent. And as you can see, out of all of the 3 defenders, he is the highest for predicted points over the next 3 game weeks as well. So maybe if you're looking for a little bit of further clarification from AI, it is also suggesting he is going to be the best out of these picks. Next up is going to be Lewis. Obviously, he's getting a lot of kind of, you know, accolades, if you like, within the FPL community because City's next 3 are delicious as well. Ipswich at home, West Ham away and Brentford at home. Again, 2 home fixtures. You would imagine as well that City, you would fancy them to go and get at least 2 clean sheets within the next 3, if not even all 3 as well. Played very well against Chelsea as well. Did kind of play in that kind of midfield pivoty role, kind of switching around from, you know, wing back to kind of dropping into that midfield area. So much we see it from Pep Guardiola's side throughout the calendar year. But I think for me, if you're going from Kwanzaa to Lewis, it feels like you're swapping 1 rotation risk with another one. And now I know Manchester City have defensive issues and obviously injuries at the moment. Rodri, Walker, they're also suffering with quite a few injuries out wide as well. So maybe Lewis might see some minutes over the next few weeks. But I think as a longer term replacement, he's going to be in the exact same position Kwanzaa's probably going to be, especially when Champions League football starts to kick in around match day 4. I would imagine he will be kind of rotating in around Champions League games, Premier League games, stuff like that. So for me, I think if you're going Kwanzaa to Lewis, it's a little bit of kind of the same for the same, if you know what I mean. You're going to be swapping 1 rotation risk with another. Now, I would argue Lewis, I would expect to score more points over the next few weeks, but it's a big gamble. And if you're already, you know, you've picked maybe a couple risky picks already that are seeing, you know, potentially minutes issues, adding another one to the mix seems like a little bit of a silly decision to me and not the right course of action if you are wanting to progress this season in FPL. And then the final one that was recommended is Lewis Hall. Now, Newcastle, I would argue, have a mixed bag of fixtures coming up, especially from a defensive standpoint. And I think that's why his predicted points are lower than Lewis Hall's. You know, they've got some nice fixtures in there. Bournemouth away, Wolves away, Fulham away in the next few. But if you look at the away fixtures, and historically, if you look at betting data or any sort of historical data in terms of clean sheets, sides keep more clean sheets at home than they do away. That's just fact. There's no really dispute in that. That is just fact. If you look at any betting data as well, it will always favour the home side, usually, unless, you know, it's like Man City versus Ipswich, to go and get a clean sheet, or at least a higher probability of a clean sheet if they are facing against tougher opponents as well. So, with that in mind, and Newcastle's difficult away fixtures in there, I think this one might be a little bit of an avoid. I think for the next 5, if you look at the good fixtures on paper, Bournemouth, Wolves and Fulham, they're all away from home, which is a little bit of kind of annoyance, to be honest. And I think that is something I'm going to definitely be using this season a lot more, is looking at clean sheet data when picking up my defenders. And I would imagine with those away fixtures, it is going to be slightly lower than if they were home fixtures. And interestingly, their home fixtures for the next couple are Tottenham and Manchester City, both difficult opponents as well. So I think that does downgrade Lewis Hall. If I had to rank all 3 assets, I probably would say Robinson, then I'd probably go Hall, then I would go Lewis last. Let me know what you think of these experts 4.5 million replacements for Kwanzaa, or if you're looking for a 4.5 million defender, let me know what you think of them down in the comments section. With Nkunku potentially becoming a minute's risk, people are looking at the 2 City boys at that 6.5 million bracket. You've got Doku and you've got Bernardo Silva as well. Obviously, City's new addition on the right, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, has picked up an injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. Also as well, Grealish only fit enough to be on the bench and not actually come off it. Also suggests to me that he's not match ready either. So I think we're realistically left with 2 options that could, as we spoke about with Rico Lewis, the fixtures are definitely there, could be decent options for the next 3, especially with that Ipswich at home tie. It is very appetising, especially after we watched Liverpool as well dismantle their defensive line in that second half. Let's start off first with Jeremy Doku. I feel if you watch him from an eye test perspective, he's one of the most frustrating players. He gets into the right position, then just sort of chops back, if you know what I mean. I know if we look at his data last season, 3 goals, 10 assists, it doesn't look that bad in 29 games, but I think we have to factor in the fact that 4 of those came in 1 game. So you take out the rest of that, you're talking, you know, not great returns over the course of a season as well. In terms of his expected data as well, you can see it is lower than Bernardo Silva, but he probably is going to be the dominant winger on that left-hand side. If Grealish is not 100% ready yet as well, obviously he can also switch onto that right-hand side where I do think he is a better player as well. But if I was to pick between the 2, I think I would go for Bernardo Silva. I really, really do. I think for the next 3, I would expect him to outscore Jeremy Doku. If you look at his per 90 data from last season, it's quite impressive. It's not too bad. Also, better expected assists, better big chances created as well last season. Obviously picked up an assist in the Chelsea game as well. And he's an asset at 6.5 I am looking at. And I like both of these picks from the expert. But I think if I was to pick between the 2, it would be Bernardo Silva that would tickle my pickle just that little bit more, to be honest. I think as well, interestingly, with Manchester City assets, is always that risk of rotation, isn't it? And I think it will definitely become apparent. But with some of the injuries and Phil Foden quite not up to speed yet, I think that does pose the question of whether or not these 2 get decent minutes, especially for the next 3. I would argue yes, but probably after game week 4 or 5, you are going to have to maybe look at replacing them as well. They've got Arsenal and Newcastle, not 2 of the greatest fixtures. Champions League football starts up after match day 4 as well, so that might be where your issues lie. But for the next 3 weeks, these 2 could be great replacements if you are looking for an Nkunku replacement. And like I said, I do favour Bernardo Silva a little bit more, but let me know what you think down in the comments section. Moving into the forward issue. Now, we're going to start off with Muniz, and I definitely feel his stock is going to get a lot hotter over the next few weeks. Some great fixtures coming up for Fulham, Leicester and Ipswich, 2 newly promoted sides. They've also got home ties against West Ham, Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. And I think the reason his stock's going to increase even further, especially if he gets to get himself a couple goals against Leicester or Ipswich, it looks like Eddie Nketiah is going to be heading to Nottingham Forest. Now, that's not been confirmed, confirmed. It's just David Ornstein from The Athletic kind of reporting on that. But usually when he reports on stuff, it's pretty concrete. And if Forest are in the market for another striker, you think that Wood's minutes potentially could be a little bit up for grabs. They've already got a Wonyi. Then you factor in a quality Premier League finisher like Nketiah as well to that mix. I think it does start to see, the writings on the wall for Chris Wood. So I definitely feel Muniz's stock is going to increase. And I think the beauty of Muniz is you can have him all the way up till game week 6. Then the beauty of it is you could very easily switch to Everton's great fixture run from game week 6 onwards. You could very easily make that switch. You've got still that 6 million striker spot, or you could downgrade him to an Armstrong, a João Pedro as well. Interestingly, Brighton's fixtures pick up around the similar point as well. So again, I think he just represents a nice, decent, cheap striker option that will play a large majority of the minutes. I don't see Raul Jimenez being the main striker for this side or dislodging Muniz from the side. So I would expect him to see very, very good minutes, unless obviously Raul Jimenez goes on like a mad scoring streak, or, Stansfield looks to potentially benefit from some minutes. But I think the number one striker option at Fulham is going to be Ricardo Muniz. 9 goals last season, 2 assists as well. The data was pretty decent for him as well, per 90 as well. We've not had like a big sample size to obviously judge him off. 26 games prior to that. Before that, not really anything. But now he is Fulham's main striker, some definitely appealing fixtures. And I feel if you are maybe looking at Chris Wood and, you've seen the news around Nketiah, he could offer you a nice replacement with some decent fixtures coming up as well. After impressing against Crystal Palace and also the potential move of Ivan Toney back on the table, Bryan Mbeumo has returned as a potential option for FPL managers and was recommended by a few of my experts. Now, I think for me, I'm not going to be looking at Bryan Mbeumo, but he's definitely made the shortlist for a few weeks' time when Brentford fixtures do turn around match day 6. I think the next 4 are very, very difficult. Minus Southampton at home, which is a great fixture. Liverpool away, City away, and Tottenham away. I just don't think it's worth any consideration. I think at some point, that match day 6 from West Ham onwards, he'll definitely be on a lot of people's radars, and that's would be the time that I would go and recommend potentially investing into the Brentford attack and Bryan Mbeumo himself. Obviously, with Toney leaving, that opens the door up for penalties. It also opens him up as another out of position playing player with obviously Visser, who he built a very strong partnership. And if you look to times last season where he was injured, Brentford really lacked any sort of creativity. Obviously played 25 games last season, 9 goals and 7 assists, which is very, very good going, to be honest. 16 attacking returns in 25 games is phenomenal numbers for any side, regardless. He is a great, great player. 7 million is an absolute steal. Interestingly as well, Crystal Palace's fixtures do start to tail off a bit around match day 6. So what you could very easily do if you're an Eze owner is obviously have this guy in the back of your mind to watch his recent performances, see how he gets on, and in match day 6, move to Bryan Mbeumo. I don't think he's going to be an option for the next few weeks, but I definitely feel longer term he will be on a lot of people's radars, especially around that match day 6 period. And then the final player my FPL experts have recommended, it is going to be Diego Jota, obviously scoring on the return of the Premier League against Ipswich. Very easily could have had a second as well. A fantastic ball in from Trent Alexander-Arnold, which he managed to just glance wide. As we can see last season, 17 attacking returns in 21 goals. If you look at his per 90 data, he is one of the best natural finisher, point scoring players per 90 the Premier League has seen for the past few seasons. When this guy's fit and available, he is fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. But that's always been the problem. It's been that fitness. But when he is fit, I feel you have to take full advantage of Diego Jota. Liverpool as well have arguably some of the best fixtures over the next 5 or 6. Brentford, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and Wolves. All this is starting to make sense. However, there are a few caveats to go with him and his potential, inclusion within your side. They have a lot of depth. They do have a lot of depth. There's no getting around it. They've got Darwin Núñez and they've got Gakpo. They've got Luis Diaz and they've got Suarez all filling in those positions. Harvey Elliott as well can dabble in that striker position as well. So for me, there's a lot of quality and a lot of competition for 3 places within that side. Now, I think the things going for him in this regard is obviously Darwin was late back. Gakpo as well had a long kind of stretched out Euros and again, didn't see much minutes over pre-season. Didn't look great either when he came on, but obviously obviously it's hard to make an impact off the bench in kind of the 80th minute, if you like, as well, especially when you've not seen too many minutes over the pre-season. Darwin didn't even feature, so I think for the next few weeks, I would say Jota's place is definitely secure within the side. Longer term, however, though, I would argue it does start to become a little bit of a problem, especially with Champions League football, like I said, resuming around match day 4 or just after the match day 4 game week. So, you know, you could get the next 3 fixtures. Brentford, Nottingham Forest at home, 2 very appetising ties, and I don't think United away is the worst one either. You would just have to have a plan for game week 5 onwards, where I feel he potentially could start to see some rotation. But I think for the next few weeks, he could be a very, very good pickup. Now's the time to get him, and like I said, when he is fit and available, his per 90 data is incredible and definitely worth some consideration. If you did enjoy today's video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, we are on that road to 10,000 subscribers. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 2.